Every night, your brain does something impossible. It shuts off the real world and builds another one from scratch just for you. You walk through places that don't exist. Talk to people your mind invented. You feel fear, joy, loss, all in response to images that never happened. And still, you believe it. Why would evolution spend so much energy building a false world? Every single night for your entire life? For decades, scientists tried to answer that question. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker at the University of California spent years studying REM sleep, the phase where the most vivid dreams occur. He found something intriguing during dreams. The brain processes difficult emotions, but without the chemical stress response we feel while awake. It's as if the brain were rehearsing suffering safely, replaying painful memories but stripping away the emotional sting they carry. Have you ever noticed that after a night of sleep, a problem feels smaller? Maybe that's not a coincidence. Another theory comes from Finnish neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo. To him, dreaming is a threat simulator, a nightly training ground for danger. If you've ever dreamed of being chased, falling, or fleeing something, your brain may be rehearsing survival responses, even with no real threat present. That makes sense when you consider our species' history. For thousands of years, sleep was one of the most vulnerable moments of human life, predators, enemies, hunger, and still, the brain chose to use that time to build entire worlds inside the mind. That doesn't look like an evolutionary waste. It looks like an investment. But there's something even stranger. During a dream, you almost never realize you're dreaming. The laws of physics break. People transform, places shift without explanation, and you accept all of it without question. That raises an uncomfortable question. What exactly separates a dream from reality? While it's happening, if everything inside the dream feels real, colors, emotions, memories, its own internal logic, how can you be so certain that waking life is any different? French philosopher Descartes asked himself this centuries ago. He observed that no sensation during a dream can, by itself, prove that the dream is false. The only difference is that, upon waking, you compare the two experiences. But what if you couldn't compare them? Some cognitive scientists defend an even more radical idea. Maybe dreaming and perceiving reality use the same brain mechanisms. The difference wouldn't be in the process, but in the amount of sensory information the brain receives from the environment. When you're awake, your senses anchor your mind to the outside world. When you sleep, that anchor disappears, and the brain alone keeps doing what it always does, interpreting, predicting, constructing meaning. In other words, maybe the reality you live every day isn't so different from a controlled dream. Just a dream with more input data? Does that change how you think about consciousness itself? If your brain can create entire universes alone every single night, what does that say about the nature of the experience you call real? Maybe you've never experienced the world directly. Maybe you've only ever lived the interpretation your mind makes of it. And if that's true, the line between dreaming and being awake stops being a wall. It becomes only a degree of intensity.